Hello children, my name's Farmer Chris. I'm going to read you another story today called Ruby's Secret, about a little red car called Ruby. And this one's written by a friend of ours called Georgie Ward Elms, who runs a pottery shop in Torrington called Little Lane's Pottery. Ruby felt she'd been asleep for a very long time. She woke with a start. She could just make out two voices, one of which was not familiar to her. Oh no, she didn't want to go back to Australia. She liked it where she was, and it was such a long way away. She remembered the journey, which wasn't very pleasant. They'd put her into a big crate with a few other cars, some of the languages she hadn't heard before, but there were a few she recognised, like German, Italian, and Americans, and the Americans were very loud. A few English accents and also a few Australians who she liked, as they were very kind to her, but the journey she did not enjoy. Ruby had been in England a long time now and lived in a little village in North Devon. She lived with two people who she'd grown to love as they loved her. They went on many adventures together, exploring the lovely countryside and the coastal routes around the West Country. She especially liked her time with the lady who drove her so beautifully and with great care, apart from when they went far too quickly down a hill and took the bend at the bottom too sharply. There's a picture of Ruby out in the field with the butterflies. Ruby would close her eyes and hold her breath, but secretly she loved it too. She liked their trips to the garden centres and with the tea rooms and the smell of the freshly baked cakes, the picnics with friends on the cliffs and the warm summer breeze in the early evenings. The journeys into town and all the admiring glances they had from people as they drove by. But Ruby's friend hadn't been around for a while and Ruby wondered why. Ruby's other friend would come sometimes, but he would only sit for a while, and Ruby knew that he was sad as well. So Ruby had just slept until now. Please don't send me back to Australia, she thought. I like it here. Please don't worry, she heard another voice say. I will love her as much as you have, and you can come and visit her anytime. Oh, thank you, said her friend. Then the doors opened wide, and Ruby saw it was late afternoon and it had the feel of a late winter, early spring day. The wind was a bit chilly and a frost sparkled on the ground. She feared she may be cold as she had no heating or coat and hadn't been out for a while. But Ruby had nothing to fear, as the other man had brought along a big truck and a large trailer for their journey and a big blanket to cover her in. When she was safely in place, Ruby's friend and the other man said goodbye, and as they left, Ruby felt sad and knew that her friend had a tear. It was very cold on the journey, and Ruby was bumped around and shivered all the way. She wondered where was she going to as they drove through lots of villages and towns. Along the coast road, down hills and bumpy lanes. By now it was getting dark, and Ruby was not able to see very much apart from a warm glow from what looked like a farmhouse and a large barn. They stopped suddenly with a bang. Ruby nearly slid off the back of the trailer. Here we are, old girl, said the man. Hey, not so much of the old, thought Ruby. Even though she knew she wasn't young, she wasn't old either. She still had miles and miles in her to go yet. This is your new home now. I'll tuck you in the barn with the others tonight and come and see you in the morning light tomorrow. Ruby then gently glided off the trailer and snuggled safely in the barn and breathed a sigh of relief knowing she wasn't going to Australia. That's another picture of Ruby in another field with butterflies. She closed her eyes and thought she would sleep until morning. That proved not to be the case and harder to do than she'd imagined. There were all sorts of things going on in the barn. Mice were scurrying around all over the place, whispering and gnawing on this and that. She could just make out the soft hoot of an owl somewhere overhead, but there was one noise she had never heard before. Blue, phew, blue. Soft and loud, what on earth could it be? Was there some strange creature here as well? Ruby became quite worried, and then she nearly jumped out of her body. Something furry had tickled her back. "Who's there?" she asked quietly, but there was no reply. She felt the tickle again. Back and forwards it went. "Who's there?" she asked more loudly this time. "Och, who are you?" came the reply. "No, I asked first," said Ruby. "I'm Mac. Mac tae me friends, but Lord Hamish McTavish to these I dunnot know," he said. "Oh," said Ruby, trying her hardest not to laugh at his accent, one of which she had never heard before. "And are you Scottish?" she asked. "Aye, they am," Mac said, followed by a very loud prrrr. Ruby could only guess she had just met the resident barn cat, who sounded like he may also be the barn boss as well. And there's a picture of Lord McTavish in the grass. As she couldn't see in the dark, she decided it was best to stay calm and remain polite to Lord Hamish McTavish. "Are you the only resident of the barn, Lord McTavish?" she asked. "Och nay, lass, I am one of many," came the reply. Oh, thought Ruby, this sounds like it might well be a good place to be, and could not wait until the morning light. Mac obviously was distracted by the mice as he disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. Ruby did manage to doze for a while, and when she awoke it was daylight. The winter sun shone through the barn windows and the cracks in the timber walls and roof. She breathed a contented sigh as she looked all around her. Ruby could just make out the shape of a little barn owl, all tucked up asleep on the beam overhead. A few mice tails dangled from some of the straw bales along by the door. Can you see the owl sitting on the rafters in the car parked in the barn? There were lots of odd-looking tools that she had never seen before, hanging neatly on the walls, along with posters of old cars that looked in perfect condition, stuck onto the timber. The barn floor was also tidy, as the stone was free from straw and mud. Ruby thought she had indeed come to a very nice place and couldn't wait for her day to begin. Or so she thought. "La, screech! La, screech! Hey!" Oh my word, what is that awful noise? It sounded like 1,000 sore-throated singers, only worse. "What's that awful noise?" asked Ruby out loud. "That will be the 3 chickens and Ducky," came a reply from the other side of the barn in a very deep voice. Ruby looked and looked, but she couldn't quite make out where the deep voice came from. There was another wall which she couldn't see over, even when she stood on tippy toes. "Why do they sing so badly?" asked Ruby. "They think that if by singing so badly it will keep the naughty fox away," he told Ruby. "Does it?" she asked. "Would you want to eat anything that sounded that bad?" said the deep voice. "I certainly wouldn't," said Ruby. "It may mean they taste as bad as they sing. Why is a duck singing with them?" "Oh, he isn't a duck, he's a chicken as well, but the pond ducks hatched him, so now he thinks he's a duck instead of a chicken. It's all a bit confusing," sighed the deep voice. "So does he live with the chickens or the ducks?" asked Ruby. "Half and half, and sometimes in the barn as well," he said. "Anyway, enough of them. What's your name? I've heard a lot about you apart from what you are called," he asked. "You'll have to guess unless you can see me, because if you could see me, you would know what my name is. But if you can't, you'll just have to guess for now." Ruby said this with a smile. If you look at the picture of Ruby, you can see that she's got her name on her number plate. Maybe I will, maybe I won't," he said in a bit of a gruff voice. "La, screech! La, screech!" Peace was broken again, and running in came 3 large chickens, followed by a small fat one whom Ruby took to be Ducky. "Wow, who are you?" "Quack." "You're lovely," quacked Ducky. "Well, thank you, Ducky. You're quite cute yourself," Ruby said with a smile. "Quack you," he said. And that's halfway through the book, so I'm going to finish now and then I'll read the other half tomorrow. Good night, children.